got them in my garden shed right now until they get big enough to be moved in the coop with the older chickens. I just moved 12 that we've raised. 2 weeks ago, I moved them into the coop with the older ones. And then last week, Gene brings home 6 more. We got 3 white leghorns and 3 either barred rock or Dominickers. I can't remember what he said they were. And then Shelly has she got 10 Easter eggs, and has had them in her incubator, and they hatched last Wednesday. So she brought them to me to work Thursday, and they are about 3 or 4 days old now. They're supposed to be Easter eggers, but I'm not sure what they are because they're all different colors here. She hatched out, actually 5 of them hatched, but 2 of them has died. So I've got 3 of them right now. They're little tiny babies. One of them is real pretty blue color. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll see. So now we have 38 chickens. I'm not really sure how this happened. I didn't intend for us to get 38 chickens, but they're so adorable and irresistible. Look how sweet. This is that blue one. So cute. Hello, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey. Good morning, y'all. Welcome to Just Dig It Farms, and welcome to my kitchen. I wanted to show y'all this morning what I do with these beautiful farm fresh eggs after I collect them. So there's a lot of information out there about how long fresh farm eggs can sit out on the counter, how long can they be stored in the refrigerator, how do you wash them right, how do you store them right, how do you test them to make sure they're still fresh and good. There's all kinds of information out there, and I've talked to different people who have had chickens for a long time and who have always done farm fresh eggs, and I've done, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I've done a lot of reading. So there's all kinds of information, and this is what I've found to work for me and our farm and the way we do things. So I just wanted to share with y'all what I do. So first of all, you really want to try to have a pretty clean egg to begin with, right? When your little hen lays her egg, you want it to be as clean as it possibly can. And there's 3 things that I do to try to ensure that. First of all is make sure you keep a clean coop and nesting boxes. Chickens are pretty nasty. I mean, they're very messy. And to keep an absolute spotless coop, that's impossible for me anyway. I don't have time to do that. So I can't do that. But I do every week. I go in and, I clean out my coop. I clean it up. Every 6 months, I disinfect it. And I'm going to have a lot more videos on that, on the cleaning the chicken coop and on what I do every week to my coop and for my chickens. But you just want to try to keep it as clean as you possibly can. And your nesting boxes, definitely keep those clean and fresh hay and things like that in there. The second thing that I do is I gather my eggs often. You want to gather your eggs as much as, as often as you can. Especially I'm in Alabama, and these Alabama summers are intense. I mean, we're just beginning on the 1st of June, and we're already in the mid 90s. So it's really hot. So during the summer, I try to gather my eggs, every morning before I go to work, and every evening when I get home, I'm gathering my eggs. So the more that you can gather your eggs, the more frequently, the less they're going to get soiled, because the hens are not going to, keep coming in and getting on the nest and getting on the eggs and getting them dirty. And the third thing that I do is I try to keep my chickens very healthy. I give them oregano oil in their water, and I put diatomaceous earth in their coop and in their food. And you know, I do different things, and I'm gonna have some videos on that as well, but I do different things just to try to keep my chickens as healthy as I possibly can and free of parasites and stuff. So that's 3 things that I do to first of all, most importantly, to take care of my chickens and to keep a clean environment, but secondly, to be able to have really clean eggs. These are the eggs that I harvested this morning, and you can see, I mean, they're pretty clean. I haven't wiped these off or done anything to them. They're pretty clean. I mean, a few of them have some feces on them, you know, a little bit, but for the most part, they're pretty clean. So a big question: how long can fresh farm eggs stay out on your counter before you wash them or put them up in the refrigerator? Well, I typically go by about a month. I leave mine on the counter for about a month. I usually don't leave them on there longer than that, mostly because we're using them either, you know, for us personally, or we've got different people that get them from us. So, you know, they don't last a whole month usually on our counter. They probably can last longer than a month out on the counter without being washed or stored in the refrigerator, but that's typically what I do, is about a month. The beauty of these eggs, farm fresh eggs, is they have, when the hen lays them, there is a protective coating that when the egg's laid is on the egg, it's like, you know, it's wet and it dries, but it's a protective coating which is called a bloom or cuticle. And what that does is it's a protective barrier around the egg that keeps the bacteria from coming inside the egg. So it's just God's natural way of preserving this egg. So that protective barrier around the egg is what keeps the egg preserved. But once you wash that egg, or you put that egg in the refrigerator, it has to stay in the refrigerator because you just washed off that protective barrier. As that egg ages, that protective barrier begins to break down. So, you know, I don't know how long that process is, so that's what I'm saying. I don't know exactly how long an egg can stay out on the counter, because that barrier does begin to break down. So usually what I do is I'll collect my eggs throughout the week. Like I said, I try to go at least twice a day, morning and evening, and get my eggs. And then I just bring them in and I put them in my cute little egg basket, or I keep them in my cute little egg basket on the counter. And then once a week, I just go through and wash them and test them and store them. So how do I wash them? So the first thing I do is I fill up both sides of my sink. This side, I fill it up with hot water. You want to use hot water because what happens is the contents of that egg actually expands and it pushes away the dirt or the feces or whatever. It pushes that away and keeps the bacteria out. It's just a beautiful natural thing that God created these eggs to do. And what I've read recommends that your water be like at 90 degrees. I don't know how hot this water is. I just know it's hot water. I just use hot water. You can use a 1/4 cup of bleach if you want to. I use vinegar. I just pour some vinegar. I don't measure. I just pour me some vinegar in there. And that's what I wash my eggs in. You do not want to use like a dish soap that's got fragrance to it. You don't want to use anything that's fragrant, because the egg actually will absorb those scents and fragrances. So I just use vinegar. I get me a clean rag and I just put my eggs in here and wash them. I let them sit for a second and wash them. Now the other side of my sink is cold water, and that's how I'm going to test my eggs for freshness, and I'll show you that in just a second. Let's wash them first. So as I'm washing these, I'm also just look how pretty that is with those speckles all over it. I just check them as I'm washing them, you know, just to make sure there's no cracks or anything on them. And then I put them over in my cold water. Now this cold water, what this does, this is how you test your eggs. When you put the egg in the cold water, it should just go to the bottom and lay flat. Now if you put the egg in there and it kind of stands up a little bit, these are all fresh and good, but if it just kind of stands up like this a little bit or starts standing up, then it's not as fresh. It's still good, but it's not as fresh. And what I do is I just go ahead and set those aside, and those are the ones that I use first. I don't give them away or sell them or whatever. I just use those first. Now, if the egg is bad, if it's not fresh at all and it's bad, it'll do that right there. It'll float. And then that's how you know the egg is not good and you need to get rid of it. So after I've washed all my eggs and then put them in the cold water and tested them, I take them and put them over on a drying towel and let them sit there and get dry. And then the eggs that were bad or had a little crack in them or whatever, I just take them and put them in my compost bucket. I love this thing. And give it back to my chickens. It's just a good source of calcium to help them keep creating these good hard-shelled eggs. Now what I do is I just kind of rinse out my sink a little bit, and I spray it down with my Thieves household cleaner. It's Young Living. I do Young Living oils, which I swear by and believe by, and I love their Thieves household cleaner. So I just spray my stoppers and my sink and everything with it. The rag I use to clean my eggs, I go ahead and throw that in the laundry. I don't want to use that because, you know, the eggs had some feces on it and I don't really want to wash my dishes with that. So then I get a clean rag and I just wash my sink out really good. That Thieves is just amazing. It cleans it, kills all kinds of bacteria and gunk, bad stuff. So now my sink is ready, clean and ready for whatever's next on the list. Then I let my eggs get completely dry. And then we're ready to store them. The egg actually has an air pocket in it at the top. As you can, when you look at this egg, there's a blunt end and then there's like a pointy end. So the air pocket is actually at the blunt end of the egg. And what that air pocket's designed for is if there was a baby chicken here, that's how it would breathe and get oxygen, is in that little air pocket. So as the egg ages, that air pocket actually gets bigger, and that's why the egg would float and be bad. That's how we know if it was bad. So when you're storing your eggs, you want to put this pointy end down in your egg carton. And the reason you want to do that is because that keeps the air on the top, in the blunt end of the egg. If you pointed it the other way, then that air sac would move up and that would cause the egg to start going bad. So that's why you want to keep that pointy end down when you're storing your eggs in your egg cartons. You definitely want to wash the egg before you eat it or use it, because, you know, it's going to have some debris of feces on the egg. Now, when it's not washed, it's got that protective barrier and that feces can't get inside the egg. But when you crack this egg, then you've just opened the door for that feces to get inside the egg, and that causes salmonella. You know, that can make you deathly sick. So you definitely want to wash them. You've got to keep them in the refrigerator once you wash them. And then once they've been refrigerated, you've got to keep them refrigerated. So that is how I collect, wash, test, and store these beautiful, colorful, farm fresh eggs. All that's left to do now is just cook some of these beautiful eggs and enjoy breakfast. Thanks so much for watching. God bless you.